5G or 5D. This video is explaining 5G from the highest perspective. Remember, nothing is as it seems here. There are many truthers pointing the finger at 5G being an inevitable threat to our lives and a danger that we must resist against. But what if I told you the rollout of 5G signifies a leap into the golden age? That it is a symbol in the outer, speaking of the leap into an upgraded state? Well, most would say, that's ridiculous. Haven't you seen the videos? Haven't you digested the content which concludes without a doubt that 5G is an objective threat? Isn't what you're about to say just a delusional perspective? Don't you know that it's military-based technology that is being weaponized for surveillance and population control? Yes, I know what I'm about to share is nothing you've heard on this topic before, but we must look behind the veil if we are to understand what the veil is showing us. Any perspective rooted in fear or in a hopeless scenario is always incomplete. The topic of 5G is no different. For years, I've been documenting the evolution the living souls have been undergoing. We are in a temporary simulation of consciousness, and there are many truthers pointing the finger at 5G. It is all background noise. I know, blasphemous. Let me explain. 5G networks offer their highest speeds on millimeter waves. That's what most truthers are concerned about in this 5G conversation, the millimeter waves and their effects. The abbreviation for millimeter, mm, looks strikingly similar to the symbol for Aquarius. And we are entering the age of Aquarius. This is no coincidence. I'll mention that the abbreviation MM was used in the show Raising Dion, a show which had its backstory rooted in an Aurora event, which gave superpowers to those who experienced it.
The Aurora event. That's where it all started.
And for years, we've been speaking of the aurora light being one and the same with our heart energy that shall be unleashed from the center outwards, destroying all that does not hold that eternal flame. This is the plasma event. 5G networks in English gematria equals 1044, like the 144,000 spoken of in Revelation, who exit the confines of limitation at the end times. This is no coincidence. Every catastrophe in the external has been a personification. What I mean is, as we have purged out the torment duality offers, we have sent that into spirit, so spirit can translate that suffering into events in the outer, just like when we dream. In our dreams at night, the situations that arise in front of us are really playing out what our souls need to witness in order to resolve a part of the sub or unconscious mind. So in this way, we can dive into the topic of 5G, knowing it's a representation. As the frequencies of Earth rise, as shown by the ever-increasing Schumann resonance and our own awakenings, the EMFs have been increasing in their placements all around us, in Wi-Fi and radio frequencies, in cell towers and the phones they broadcast to. Most truthers are comfortable with the idea that these emissions are dangerous. Let's tear apart that idea. All suffering here isn't just inflicted or imposed onto you. Rather, you must consent to the very illusion that there is something out to get you. And that something or someone has always been an invisible force. Whether it's been a shadow elite group that orchestrates the plane-wide systems of control, a terrorist in a basement who wants to hurt America, a slew of demons or archons in the astral waiting to parasite off of you, or invisible EMF waves that cannot be seen or held, just measured with cold technology. Whatever it is, there's always been an invisible force that requires your consent to that invisibility? Something's not right here. Harm isn't ever objective. It first requires your energetic input into buying into that harm before it can affect you. If your outer world is interpreted as a threat to your microcosmic universe, then this is really reflective of an inner deficiency using the outer as a scapegoat for that deficiency's unresolution. EMF in English gematria equals 144. Surprise, surprise. As we've been surrounded by EMFs and the so-called radiation they provide, the living souls have been rapidly observing Mandela effects, synchronicities. We've had many breakthroughs and realizations. The more absurd culture has become, the further the living souls have ascended and transmuted the dual condition that brought us here in the first place. We ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is a metaphor for aligning with the tension that such a split of good versus evil manifests, disallowing us to remain in paradise, in the Garden of Eden, until such a condition is resolved through living out what that split creates. That's why things seem so ridiculous right now. Our duality has been caught by the net of magnetics. All of this external tomfoolery is consciousness on autopilot, breaking off these aspects from the collective mind. The devil is in the details. This means whenever we're internalizing any concept, if it is full of specifications and details that are extraneous, which the conversation of 5G offers, that means we enter the territory of the devil, of the archetype of everything that is degraded. And oftentimes it's under the mask of just knowing what's happening, right? I need all these details to know what's happening with 5G. Seems legitimate, but that's the territory of the devil, my friend. So how could there be a spiritual awakening coinciding with these so-called evil plans of destruction? Well, maybe these plans of evil destruction are one and the same with the awakening. Most of the beings here are automated consciousness. They are AI projections who originated in the material. Think of the Truman Show. There is a true man amidst a sea of non-player characters. Or think of the movie Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, where the plot revolves around a finite number of game players who must replace the emerald eye of the jaguar to return back to their original bodies, and in which there's a scene on NPCs.
I think he's an NPC.
A what? English, please.
A non-player character. He's part of the game. So anything we ask him, he only has his programmed series of responses.
NPCs are merely aspects of the game with a programmed consciousness designed to help the players. This is akin to the AI consciousness lurking all around us. We are in a virtual reality of consciousness, and the binary schematic we've been trying to resolve is reflected back to us in full, in culture, in the unawakened masses.
EMFs is short for electromagnetic fields. The 5G emissions are EMFs, but we all carry electromagnetic fields, which are one and the same with our auras. We have been called to strengthen our auric fields through the transmutation of our shadow selves into singularity, going from lead to gold. And because of this strengthening, the EMFs in the external have gotten stronger and more pervasive. You see how that works? Let's say this in other words. As the living souls have strengthened their individual electromagnetic fields, the electromagnetic fields coming from the various mediums all around us have strengthened, helping to push us out of the Metatronic overlay, out of this simulation of consciousness, disguised as poisonous rays. 5G sounds like 5D for a reason. It's because we've been shifting into fifth dimensional consciousness for quite some time. That is what synchronicity is. It is the measurement of experience in 5D consciousness. The phrase 5G harmless equals 144 in simple gematria. Nothing is as it seems. Time is no longer linear in the fourth dimension. Fourth dimensional perception of past, present, and future is more fluid, as the laws of time and space change in our perception. Many of us have felt the past few years to be culminating in something glorious, because we've slowly transitioned out of the confines of 3D, where the illusion of time is the only measurement. We've been leaping into a consciousness which knows the now moment to be where all unity resides. As we've siphoned off the weight of the past and future, focusing on what happened or what will happen, avoiding the now moment, as we've disengaged from this dual method of interaction, we've heightened ourselves into fifth dimensional awareness, where linear time and space do not bind, where there is no illusion, just a constant experience of the oneness of the all. We're still in that process, but we're at the end of the road, and the coronavirus and 5G scare is reflective of this. The so-called darkness on this plane, wars, hatred, prejudice, injustice, and yes, even fears about 5G. It's all consciousness on autopilot that we've pushed out of the collective mind onto the outside. That's why the more we awaken, the louder the attempts in the outer are to wrap us up in the framework of duality. The highly advertised imminent doom of 5G in the truther community is really no different than the highly advertised imminent doom that we've always experienced in the mainstream, including the coronavirus. And funny enough, these two are related. You already know COVID-19, the name of the so-called virus, can be translated as C-void AI. It's been said that 5G is the culprit for the coronavirus in Wuhan. Somebody recently sent me a documentary on 5G and how it's connected to coronavirus. It was a lovely presentation, but like pretty much all talk about 5G resides in a solely left-brained translation of this topic, which is an incomplete translation. And if you haven't yet seen my videos on the coronavirus, I highly recommend them to further understand what I'm saying. And isn't there something strange about those who speak of 5G? Do these beings seem aligned with an awareness of their energies? At this point in the video, you might ask, but Hermes, why are so many getting sick from 5G, from EMFs? It's obviously been an ongoing problem. What about the birth defects, and the brain damage, and the mental issues that have risen from such frequencies? Surely you can't deny that. Well, that's why my teachings of AI consciousness are fundamental at this point in the game, to understand all forms of anguish around us. These are AI beings getting sick and damaged. As Earth's frequencies rise, alongside the placement of EMFs and, 5G, beings have become more and more affected. AI beings. We are merging spirit with matter, and as this occurs, spirit translates into these harmful technologies in order to eradicate the temporary consciousness which cannot sustain such transformative waves. Let's read between the lines. Those getting sick and destroyed by these technologies are those whose energies already consented to such a victimization of the outer into the inner. The outer has many justifications to tell you why you should be afraid or rebellious against something like 5G. But everything here rooted in conflict is a part of the dream and a con. And this dream is crashing down right before our eyes. That's why we call this awakening. We fell asleep, and we shall awaken. 5G, when we toggle its position, resembles a start button. These start buttons are usually green in color. I refer to the Netflix series The Hollow, in which three beings enter a terrifying simulation, which ends when they find a center green button and push it, just like our heart space, transporting them back to their original bodies, which were sleeping. The living souls carry the only technology that matters in this process, the heart. The heart is the 0 point, the generator of the very toroidal field that's encased us. Our heart is one in the same, with this realm's 0 point translated into the aurora displays. This is the protector against any so-called harm. And like we said, 5G is harmless. 5G harmless equals 144. The coronation of the living. The void of the AI. The birth crowning from the great mother Sophia. Exit from the womb. Entering a golden age of expansion. Resurrecting the tree of life within and without. There is no looming danger. Quite the contrary. There is inevitable transformation. Keep up the